Should old acquaintance be forgot and all that? I made sure she wouldn't forget me that day, didn't I, Batman? It was the first New Year's party I'd been invited to in a long time. But then I wasn't really invited, was I? The restraining order saw to that. Still, she and I had been close, or so I believed. And a new year means a new start. I admit, stepping into a crowded ballroom with a flamethrower was a bit dramatic. But what better way to melt the ice at a party? Perhaps she should have taken that cup of kindness from me when I first offered. A new love with tokens of affection. I chose a dozen red roses, an assortment of truffles, and a darling little lacy thing. Excuse me, I didn't mean to be so intimate. You might say I'd overdone it. And in truth, at that point, my love and I had not actually met. Ever the romantic, I followed her to her apartment. Loudly proclaiming my love, I drowned out her screams of protest. Sadly, it was not to be, so instead of smothering her with gifts, I simply smothered her. All the rest of it. March 17th, the day set aside for St. Patrick, the holy man who pulled snakes from Ireland.
Good.
Interesting thing about snake venom, Batman. Some are green, just like the dye used to make green beer. That made it all the easier when I hosted that St. Patty's Day party for my old gang. As you remember, one of my henchmen tried to tip you off. I wasn't sure which one had done it, so I decided to punish them all. 1 dose of green mamba venom into the beer keg, and they were soon rotting under the shamrocks. So I guess that makes you responsible for their deaths, too. I'll drink to that. You listened well. You appear to understand the importance of dates, don't you? Let me tell you about this day of fools. I remember clearly that I watched her for days, waiting for the perfect moment. It was cold that March. It felt like spring would never come. They drank coffee, and she confessed her life lacked surprises. For 6 more days, I watched. April 1st, 5:22 a.m. I finished cutting through the brake lines of her car. From the camera I placed on her dash, I saw her panic. My only regret, she couldn't hear me yell, "Surprise!" But one.
I say we hide out here.
M was for the murderous look she gave me. O meant only she was weak, old.
Good.
T is for her terror as she fought me. H is for her heart that I now hold. E is for her eyes swiftly dimming. R means rot, and soon rotting she will be. Put them all together, they spell mother, a word that means a corpse to me. Happy Mother's Day, Mommy. April, June, and September of 28 is...
You have a better idea?
I wasn't real close to my dad, and after my first internment at Arkham, I never spoke at all.
I take it by your
Seems he wrote me off as a wacko,
Good.
loser. So, after I was released, I wanted to clear the air between us. Next Father's Day, I dropped by his place and suggested we go fishing. You ever go fishing with your pop? Well, it's some fun, let me tell you. The two of us out on the water, pulling in one whopper after another. Of course, I was doing the actual pulling. Dad was baiting the hooks. You know, with a finger, a foot, an eye. Whatever I had left of him. Even today, whenever I eat a nice piece of fish, I feel closer to my dear old dad.
Get a number on him.
April, June.
But whatever, man. We need a new plan. Assuming none of you have a better idea.
Explosives planted at every exit and beneath this cell itself. What better way to celebrate Independence Day? My independence, of course, from Arkham. Unfortunately, I decided to be clever about it and had a calendar sent to police headquarters with the month of July ripped out. You figured it out right away and arrived just as the fireworks were starting. You stopped me from escaping, but not before the fire swept through the intensive care ward. But then, what's the 4th of July without a barbecue?
Number on him.
April,
But
June,
whatever,
November.
man. We need a new plan. Assuming none of you have a better idea.
Early
I say we hide
September.
out here while the rest of
Kids
us run
headed
around
back
in
to
circles
school,
with the Joker's
leaves
untimely
starting to turn,
passing.
and best of all,
I take it by your silence
Labor
that you
Day.
don't. Good.
like the year I posed as a construction laborer and drove a bulldozer through the gold exchange. Or the year I referenced the labors of Hercules and released lions, bulls, and wild boars upon Gotham. Better than a circus. Even you have to admit last Labor Day was my most inspired. Laying siege to that hospital maternity ward? You labored mightily yourself that day. Saved every one of them. Well, there's always next year. And
We need a new
September.
plan. Assuming
Boo.
none of you have a better idea.
Funny thing,
I say we
Halloween
hide
in
out here while
Arkham.
the rest of them run
It
around
seems
in circles
redundant
with the
here.
Joker's untimely
Within these
passing.
walls, the monsters are
I
on
take it by
display
your silence that you
year-round.
Good.
Of course, there was that one year Joker led a breakout on All Hallows Eve. What a wonderful night. Costumed revelers innocently partying alongside killers and fiends. Of course, the real screams came when it was time to unmask. Trick or treat. April,
But whatever,
June,
man.
and
We need a new
September
plan.
of
Assuming none
28.
of you have a better idea.
You
I say
know,
we hide
I
out
always
here
feel
while
a
the rest
little
of them run
lonesome
around
in
circles
November.
with the Joker's
I
untimely
think that's
passing.
because even the worst of us
I
enjoy
take it by
a
your
good
silence.
old-fashioned family Thanksgiving. I know I did a few years back when I dropped in unannounced on Turkey Day. All those surprised faces around the table. Mom and Dad could hardly believe it. Mind you, I don't know whose mom and dad they were. I was on the run and needed a place to lay low. That family, whoever they were, could certainly cook. Stuffing and gravy and pumpkin pie to die for. Unfortunately, they did. Like I said, always feel lonesome in November.
Look, the bad news is the cat bitch took out the boss. I was there. She really did a number on him.
April,
But
June,
whatever, man.
November.
We need a new plan. Assuming none
All
of you
the
have
rest.
a better idea, I say we hide out.
Ebenezer Scrooge was a saint compared to old Judge Harkness. Remember him,
I take
Batman?
it by your silence that you
Gotham's